Okay, and we're back. And this is Boating Basics Part 3. So um, we're just going to skip this and move forward. So last poll of the night. So give me 1 second to launch it for you. Get down here. And you can click as many as you would like. List the information that you feel you need to know to be a safe boater. You guys both, I see one of you. There you go. All righty. Awesome. Choices are endless, aren't they? Okay, let me end the poll. Okay, let me share results. So, how to read a chart plotter, number 1. Yep. Terminology, it just keeps coming and coming and coming. It doesn't stop. And once you get it, then you'll have to remember it. So it's out there. We'll continue with terminology, and it's just repetition and asking, what is that? And being curious. Tell me about that. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing results and put this away. Great job. Thanks, ladies. Okay, language terminology. I wanted to show you a couple of different helms, and I wanted to tell you, Regina has a boat, Donna, you don't. And so I'm not going to go crazy here and spend a huge amount of time. But this is, remember when we were talking in last session about how important it is to sit down, be in a boat, and feel it. And so I brought up this sailing vessel picture, and it has 2 helms. I happen to be very much a one helm kind of gal, but when I sat on a boat, and I've actually sailed a boat very similar to this, with the chart plotter in the pedestal. So notice that I said pedestal. That is also a center, it can be called a center console. It can be called a pedestal, and it also, depending on the boat, might have a table associated with it. But I will tell you, for anybody over the age of 40, probably cannot read that screen when they're sitting at the helm. And so that basically leaves you with your phone or a tablet that you're looking at and holding on your lap. And a couple of things about a double helm boat is that you've got 2 things to break in your helm and your steering mechanism. You have 2 compasses. You have a couple of sets of devices that are part of your instruments. And so just knowing that this is a very simple layout of a boat and a very nice cockpit. And then when you look at the center console, again, I'm using the word center console. It's a pedestal, again, on this power boat. Everything's very neat. It's very tidy. It's close together. The chart plotter is not embedded in this particular console yet. This is a brand new boat that we have a picture of, but everything is joysticks, buttons, and more than likely, a lot of people will label those things. So don't be afraid, especially once you get your boat, to label things in your organizers, because you're going to have people on your boat that don't know what things are, and it's always great to actually make it simple for them, and they're going to come in handy to you. So there's it's a great way to take a little labeler, put it on, and that's the jib furling. And so you remember that it's that line. So each boat will have its own kind of organizer, and there you should be able to find a place to be able to remind you what those lines are. That's also a great place. So when you do have someone on the boat and you have those visual cues, for instance, we have a cue up in the nav station reminding us to turn the battery switch on at night when we're at anchor, so that we don't draw down the battery that is our house battery. So our starter battery. So, there's things like that are important that you want to be able to point out to people in your nav station, labeling all of the different parts, or all the different switches. So labeling is a good thing. It helps people as they want to get around your boat, and it also helps you remind yourself what things are called. Really quickly, I want to tell you about, remember that a compass is magnetic. And if you are using a electronic device like a phone and or a tablet, and you lean it up against the compass, you are going to find that your headings that are being displayed on your electronic device will be wrong. So know that that is caused by the magnetic interference of the compass, and most people aren't going to know that. They're going to think that they're one place and they're actually another. And how do I know that? Because we did it. So I will keep going. This is what a chart plotter looks like. And this happens to be the chart plotter that we have on our boat. There are different ones. There's Garmin, there's Raymarine, there's Lowrance, B&G. We got struck by lightning. We lost all of our electronics, so we got the opportunity to replace our electronics, and so we chose B&G. We did that for a couple of reasons, and one of them was it is a much more sailing oriented from our perspective. It is a bit more racing oriented. We don't race our boat. We're happy to race and crew, but we don't race our boat. What I love about the B&G, so you're looking at two different views, and in these two views, one of them is actually telling you the depth. It's telling you what the land masses are, and it's actually showing you various markers that are there. And then the other is your okay, I did it again. Sorry, I haven't eaten today. It's here. Look. Radar. Sorry, totally lost my word. Sorry, I haven't. I've got to make sure that I eat, and I didn't. So anyway, the other thing that I love about this display is it's big enough. It has brightness capability, so you can make it brighter and you can make it lighter, so it's not as bright. So it does have nighttime capabilities. The other thing that it has is, depending on who the user is at the helm, my husband can have a view that he prefers, and I have a view that I prefer. I like my cursor, my view of the boat being heads up. So that basically shows me the direction that I'm going with the bow of the boat at the front. It's opposite of what you're seeing on the left-hand side. So just know that it's important that if you have the opportunity, go test these things. Have somebody who really knows them. Find out, when's the B&G rep, when's the Raymarine guy, when's the Garmin guy going to be in West Marine, and go have them demo and show you these electronics so that you can get a good feel. The manuals that you have available to you from these companies is very bad. There's a lot of things to figure out. A lot of stuff is on YouTube, and you can Google it. But the user manuals are not great. So you got kind of have to figure some things out for yourself, or you can ask for help. This is a chart. Don't want to mistake it for a map. So even though it looks like a map, it looks like Google Maps, the couple things that I wanted to point out, this happens to be in a foreign country, not in America. And this is how they display on their chart the red and the green marker going into a channel. This happened to be where we were in Freeport. And I just wanted to give you a quick bird's eye view of that and reminding you that we're going to get into chart a little bit more, so you'll see another one. Now, here we are again back at the aids to navigation and remembering what our markers are telling us, that as we're going to open water, I've got green markers on my right. On my starboard side, I have red on my left going to open water. As I'm coming from open water heading to shoreward, I have red right return, red on my right, and I have green on my left. And so again, familiarizing yourself, know that you can download this, have it available so that you can actually, when you're looking at your chart, if you need to look something up and get a characteristic, you can do that. These are day markers that, again, we talked about those. Those do not have any kind of lighting on them. And again, it is so important that you know where you are, so that chart plotter and that next course of learning how to read the chart, how to read the chart plotter, and to stay in where you need to be so that you don't deviate and you don't go aground. And I will tell you, Regina, you're going to be going up the ICW and you're going to get into some stuff that you're going to go, wow, this is crazy. Please write down ICW Bob 423. If you're not following him, you should be when you're heading up the East Coast. Bob has done, he does a tremendous job of giving information about the ICW. We followed him 14 days after one of the major hurricanes that hit New Bern, North Carolina. And every day they were posting, they were 14 days ahead of us. So they had actually gone with depth sounders. There was a group that left, I think there were 4 or 5 boats, and they actually charted this and they gave tracks or routes. So they would download them and then we could upload them into our chart plotter and we could follow them. And it saved us so much hassle. So again, Regina, just it happens to be ICW Bob 423. If you're not following him, write that down to remember.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. Again, here's another lighted buoy, knowing the characteristics. I'm doing this for a reason. You want to learn what your buoys and markers are, and what do they mean on the chart. So we're going to go through this quickly. I want to go back to the chart and I want to show you a couple of other attributes. Now, one thing when you're looking at a chart, when you really need to read it, in the information that's written that says caution, you need to look at it and you say, oh, am I in meters? Am I in feet? Or am I in fathoms? So in this particular chart, it happens to be showing us meters. So we have to convert it. So, fortunately, if you don't know the conversion rate, you can Google it and you can figure it out and you can do the multiplication. In this particular, we were headed to Bell Channel. That was where we were going. It gave us what the longitude and the latitude were. So we knew where that channel was and how to get there. Notice at the end of that channel, you'll see a red-white buoy. That buoy is actually a buoy. It has a flashing light on it every 2 seconds. And the buoy is red and white. So half of it is red, half of it is white. It does not tell you what color the flashing light is. So we went out one night because we went over to Taino Beach and we were in our dinghy and we saw that it's a white light. So it's a white, so it would be on an American chart, it might read flashing white W, FLW 2 seconds. So just know, when you go to a different country, when you go to the Bahamas, you may see something in meters where we see everything in feet in the United States. And then again, your actual day markers are marked red and green, like we saw the other day markers. Top 3 rules of the road. These are not my rules. These are the rules of the U.S. Coast Guard. Post a lookout. So designate someone to watch for dangers that may come from any direction. Look, when you're at the helm of the boat and you're driving the boat, you know, a lot of people are on their phones just like they do in cars. Well, guess what? You know, when you're at sea and you've got 4,000 feet of water underneath you and you have no obstacles and no traffic, that's one thing, but you still have to look around. And so when you're at the helm of the boat and you're the captain, if you're single-handling, you are the lookout and you're the helmsman. You're the captain. So you own all responsibility for everything. However, if there are 2 of you on the boat, if one person is at the helm, the other person is looking around just to make sure that everybody, you know, hey dear, did you see that? And sometimes they get annoyed, sometimes they don't, and then sometimes they remind us. I know, imagine that. So the next rule is really, really, this is one that you have to judge. This is maintain a safe speed. And this is except where speed is restricted by a regulation or a waterway is marked no wake or no speed. You have to be able to judge this. What is a safe speed for yourself? So we'll tell you, you have to have a restricted or regulated speed in a waterway. We're going to tell you now you can't go any faster than this. However, when you don't have that being told to you, you have to discern for yourself. You have to take into account your visibility, your vessel's traffic. Regina said her boat doesn't back up very well. She needs to be able to know whether or not she can go in reverse and at what speed she can take that boat. You have to remember what your ability, what you can do yourself in your ability to maneuver the boat. Have you practiced doing 360s, Regina? When that boat gets in the water, that practical piece for both you and your husband before you take off is really get out there and do some of it, go out into the bay and practice doing, getting into tight, pretending to be in a tight situation and having to maneuver, backing up the boat, when you're going against the current or you're going with the wind or with the wind coming at you. So the weather conditions are always going. One of the things that you're going to find, Regina, as you go up the East Coast is you are going to be blown away with the rivers and the current in the rivers and just how quickly they move, and how it affects what you're doing as you're trying to maneuver in tight spaces. So, just be prepared. And the best thing you can do is take it slow. Go as slow as you can possibly go, where you still have the ability to navigate and maneuver, and at all times avoid a collision. We're going to talk a little bit about electricity on boats. So when you're cruising and when you're on a liveaboard boat, you like having electricity, and electricity is provided in 2 ways. The first way is shore power, which is exactly the volts that you have in your house. That would be 110. So right now we're in a marina, we're plugged into the shore power, and that's called alternating current. It's AC. It's exactly what you have in your house. European boats are running 220, so much higher, very dangerous, and very, it can hurt you. So can 110. And the current comes to you through what's called a shore power cord, and it looks like an extension cord, which I'll show you here in a minute. The second way in which we get current is through our batteries. So we actually are in the process of putting solar on our boat. So we will actually get our current from our solar, which will then go through the solar panel, go through a controller, and it'll top off our batteries and give us our direct current. One way in which you can continue to keep your batteries topped off is by starting your engines. And you can run your electronics. You can use your inverter to power up devices that may need to be charged, and you will have a DC lighting system. So you'll have the ability when you're on anchor to have lights because you have the ability to charge your battery by turning on your engine. That system, a DC system, is a 12-volt system. So the lights that you have to have that you put in your cabin will be 12-volt systems. This is what the center, that's a cover for a battery, and the battery is has the cables that connect to it, to the positive and to the negative. And so it sits in the companionway, and we have other batteries, but that just happens to be our house battery. I'm showing you where the shore power actually plugs into the back of our boat. It's above our jerry cans, which is a platform, and that's where we carry our fuel on the back of the boat. We don't put it on the foredeck just because we like to have our foredeck free. And this was a good place, and it's strapped in, and it's out of the way, and it's in the shade most of the time. The shore power that you're seeing here is called a smart plug. We replaced our Marinco outlets because we had been at the boat show in Miami and several other boat shows, and we've watched this technology, and we really like the fact that they've put some real nice safety features into this particular product, and this product that it replaces, the Marinco, has been around forever and with no updates or anything like this. So we felt for having safer electrical, because you don't know, especially when you're traveling outside of the country, but even when you're going to various places inside the country, they get their electricity in different ways, and you get surges. How often are they maintaining their pedestals? And so you could have surges, you could have a lot of things, and this basically protects you from that happening. For us, how do we cook on a boat? Well, we cook with propane. Some people cook with alcohol. Some people are now, with the amount of solar, the amount of wattage that you're able to get, we've watched that over the last 5 years as well. And so now people are starting to put electrical cooktops in their boats because they can actually get that out of their solar system. They can actually handle that draw on their electrical system. So solar is changing boating and cruising. And how we happen to cook, we use propane. It gets problematic when you go to Europe and you go to other countries because of the valves that are used on propane tanks. But in the United States and countries that are around the US, it's not a problem. This is a look at a gas stove on a boat and an alcohol stove. So the gas stove is gimbaled, and what that means is it flows back and forth with the, when you ungimbal it, it actually moves. And so it sways with the movement of the vessel. And those little racks hold the pans in place. And so, again, gas, we have done a redo of our galley, and we've put Corian on our countertops, and that is a newer gas stove. It does have a broiler, and it does have an oven. I would never buy a 3 burner top again, only because of the size of the pans, and there just really aren't a lot of good pans that are small that would fit there and that make sense to use. So what I found in my thinking that I had to have a 3 burner, that's just not enough space in that 3 burner stove, and I probably spent $200 more than I should have for that stove. This is so an alcohol stove. The top looks a little bit different than a gas stove. Back to the survey and what a surveyor does. So the surveyor spends time below your decks. They inspect the engine installation. They're looking at your seacocks or your through holes. Same thing, two different. We call them two different things. Your valves or your seacocks, and then your through hulls. Your fuel lines, your electrical wiring, and your plumbing system and the hull's interior. They're looking for structural defects. They're looking for things that are broken or that may break. So the surveyor may not be able to find all of the problems that you have, but they're going to give you a good idea. And our surveyor, the surveyors that we've had the opportunity to work with have been great. And this is just another example, a better shot of looking at what does it look like underneath, where they bring those sleeves together and they fasten it and they hold those boats. And it's actually not just one rod on the bottom. There are several steel rods holding that boat up. This particular travel lift does have a carrier on the back, but most of the drivers are freestanding. The guys are standing with joist. They have a little control panel that they wear around their neck, and it has a harness, and they actually maneuver that. But there you go. I want to give you a lesson on VHF. So we talked about the VHF. The VHF handheld is that antenna is what you get, and that's why you only get 2 to 5 miles radius with the handheld. And with the mounted VHF that's in the nav station, it is attached to the antenna at the top of the mast, and that will allow you to go maybe 30 miles, maybe 20 miles. But usually the Coast Guard, with where on U.S. Certainly, it is different in other countries, but in the U.S., they picked us up 30 miles offshore. So, who's required to carry and maintain continuous listening on a VHF? Any power-driven vessel. That would be a sailboat or powerboat, any power-driven vessel of 20 meters or more. A towboat over 26 feet in length, a vessel of 100 tons and carrying passengers, and a dredge. So the other thing to know is that technically the person who is using the VHF must speak English. The VHF is there for communication. It is for distress, safety, and an initial calling channel. So there are 3 categories of calls. One is called securite, the next is pon, and the third is mayday. You will say these words 3 times, and number 1, securite, is the safety signal. It's warning you, it's telling you, I'm a big vessel, I'm leaving port, I want you to know that I'm leaving port, so I'm going to say securite, securite, securite. And I'm telling you that I'm going to give you a warning that I am leaving the dock, and I am going. You'll hear this all the time in Key West as the charter boats are taking people out. So whenever you're around a busy port, don't be surprised when you hear a securite, securite, securite. Listen for it. Listen, where are they coming from? They're basically telling you what they're doing. Pon is also spoken 3 times, It is an urgent signal that we're telling you that there's something going on. So when we were struck with lightning, we weren't a Mayday situation. We were a pon. We were just saying we have an urgent situation. Um, we did have an electrical fire on our boat, but we were able to put it out. We didn't have any holes, or we were not taking on water. So we were a pon. So it was pon. And you say each of those, you know, in a slow cadence, and it's basically identifying that this is sailing vessel, whatever your boat name is, and then you're asking for assistance. Um, Mayday is spoken 3 times. Mayday, 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 and that is telling the world that you have a distress signal. Any boats that are around you, you have a life-threatening situation. You're either sinking, you have a fire on board, or you have someone with a medical condition, perhaps something like a heart attack, and you need medical attention as quickly as possible. You want to listen for traffic while you're on board. So you have to monitor channel 16 at all times. And before you can use the device, you don't want to break into you don't want to speak over someone's transmission. So if someone's speaking, you wait for them to break before you transmit. Um, you also want to make sure that before you wait 2 minutes before you'll hail someone. Like I may hail the harbor master at Legacy Harbor Master, Legacy Harbor Master, Legacy Harbor Master. This is sailing vessel Simplicity. Do you copy? I'm going to wait a good 2 minutes for them to respond to me. They might be busy. They may be helping another boat, and they're going to come up. They're going to answer me. They're going to respond. This is Legacy Harbor Master. How can I help you? Please switch to channel 68 for non-emergency, and that's a non-emergency channel. So I can go, and they're going to ask me to please acknowledge and switch to channel 6, 8, 10, or 12. And I respond very simply by saying, Simplicity is switching to 6-8. I then switch the channel to 6-8, and then you can speak freely. You hold the button in and you speak and you tell them, and I would say, hey, Eric or Austin or whoever it was, we're coming back in. We've got a bit of wind. Could we get a hand at the dock with our lines? And we may not know who the harbor master is, but we want to get fuel, or we want to have a slip for the evening. This is how we would talk to them and ask them about what that was. And then they will give us instructions. And so if you hear the instructions, I would recommend trying to have a place to write something down, because sometimes we forget. They'll say something, and then my husband will look at me and say, what did you say? And did he say C72? No, he said C73. So, jot it down, put it in a phone, something so that you have it. If you are not clear, ask. All the time transmissions get garbled, or just let them know, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Could you repeat that, please? At the end of the conversation, you're going to state that you're returning to channel 16, and how we do that is we say Simplicity is returning to channel 16. And so then I turn the channel back to 16, and we begin monitoring what's happening. So terminology. This is not like TV, and this is not what you hear in cop cars. So Roger actually means that it indicates that you've received a transmission. Over means that you expect a response. Wilco is something that saying that you will comply. Yes, I get what you're telling me. However, it's very unlikely that you'll ever hear it. Out. This is the end of my transmission. This is Simplicity, sailing vessel Simplicity back to channel 16. Out. I'm done. So it makes a clear communication. So when you go to VHF school and you take a class, they're going to give you instructions on how to use this. These are the way in which I was taught. This is also what the Coast Guard teaches for utilization of the VHF. So with that, I want to go ahead and open it up to questions and answers. and certainly take a few minutes for you and see what questions I can answer. Regina, what you got for me?
Hey, so you mentioned before about the compass
Yes.
causing an error in your phone or your tablet.
Yeah, because it was leaning up against it. It was too close.
It was leaning up against it. So just holding a phone while you're at the wheel and your compass is in the pedestal. That's not clear. It had to be really close. It was like literally.
It was leaning on it. So when you're, you might have your phone in your pocket, that's fine. But if you'll notice it, actually test it on your boat.
Okay.
Notice, put your tablet or your phone up there, put your Navionics on, or or CMAP or whoever you're using, and see what happens when you put it up there.
Okay.
And you'll notice, you'll go, oh, wow, she wasn't crazy. It's really interesting. Never would have known it. We were off of Block Island, in Rhode Island, off of Block Island Sound, in the middle of fog at 3:30 in the morning, and there was a wind turbine maintenance boat coming up to Nantucket to do maintenance on the wind turbines, right? And the guy, we can see this thing coming, but man, it was really, we had no idea what it was, and we hailed him. And he started, nobody's out there at 3:30 in the morning, and we changed channels. And then we started having a conversation. And he said, hey, by the way, what's your location? And we read him off the tablet what our location was. And he goes, no, it's not. That's not right. And my husband looked at me. He picked up the tablet and he stepped away from the compass. And then all of a sudden it was like, that commercial when you hit your head with, I got to have a V8. Yeah. He had the epiphany. He goes, it's sitting next to the magnet in the compass, and it was off by 20 degrees. And then it had changed, and he was then gave the heading, our longitude and latitude, to the guy, because now that's right. That's exactly where you are.
Okay. Isn't that interesting? Great.
Isn't it crazy? Just a little thing like that. And you just set it up there. You don't think about it. You just prop it up because you can see it. It's nice. And you never think, and then when you have to give it, how often do we ever have to tell somebody what our longitude and latitude is?
I know.
But what a great lesson, huh?
It is.
Yeah. What else? I really blew through the last session because I know there's only the two of you tonight. So I certainly don't want you to feel like I went through it too fast. So any other questions that you might have, Regina?
No, not right now. I do appreciate you telling me about the other courses and Nautic Ed and stuff like that, because I do want to brush up, before we splash. We'll do the shakedown and everything, but that's not the same as getting some knowledge in classes.
No, and like I said, go to my website, start with the 2 free courses, might as well. And then, if you decide you like them and you sign up, but I've done them all. And what I like about the fact is that they're real time. You can work in your time frames. You can pick it up anywhere that you have internet, and you can do it, and you can come back to it. It's like you have that login forever, so it doesn't go away. And so if you get off the boat for a few months and then you want to go, I want to really work on my sail trim, you can go back and you can take that course again.
Okay, great. And this is your web page, Your Sailing?
Yeah, go to my yoursailingLC.com and go to /sailing. I think it's sailing-education, but you'll see it on the tab if you just go to my main website.
All righty.
Okay, Donna, Regina, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, what's the name of your boat?
Over Yonder.
Over Yonder. Okay, well, if we see you out there, we're Simplicity, we're a Beneteau. Oceanus 381 were a white boat with red biminis, and so hopefully we'll pass somewhere in the future. And I hope to see you again on courses. Donna, can I help you with any questions you might have?
No, this has been great. I'm just starting. I used to travel, cruise with friends on a trawler. And then I have a friend that has a 32-foot. He lives down in Fort Myers Beach and has it. We used to sail, but he's really secluded himself during COVID. Um, so I just want to get on a small boat and just start learning. I'm reading a book, Second Wind, by a guy that was just riding around Nantucket in ponds with his sunfish. And
Nice.
and what he's rent. So, and I'm reading a book on sailing a small boat. I come from the Midwest and the prairies, so I haven't been
Yeah,
raised around water. So I like to see the shore.
I understand. And
That's
you
why
know
I
what's
like Calusa.
and what's beautiful about the country that we live in is you can pretty much do a whole lot of country and still see the shore. There are only a couple places where you have to be offshore. So
Yeah,
it's really amazing. And so I encourage you to, if you have other people that that need this kind of a course and other courses, please send them my way.
I
I
do.
would,
I'm going to. Yeah.
and I would love it if you guys would go on Facebook and please give me a review. I would love to have your opinions, and hopefully this was valuable for you. And this is not going to be information that you're going to get in those courses.
Yeah.
And it makes it a whole lot easier if you have recognition of things. Next time you go to a marina, you're going to look at it differently.
Right.
The next time you get out on the water and you start looking at those markers. And Regina, when you guys get into the ICW, I don't know how much ICW sailing you've done, but those markers are gonna be backwards to you. So you have to you're gonna have to stop, and you're gonna have to think about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if any questions come up, if there's anything I can do for you in the future, let me know. And I look forward to hearing from both of you. And thanks for being here tonight.